Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is Dave Wajelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. The title of today's show kind of tells the story of what we're going to talk about. The Canucks shot 33% and lost 8-5. I would have to go back and look, obviously, and it would take a while. Shout out to whoever comes up with it first, comes up with stat. I'd be very curious to find out, like, A, has that ever happened before in NHL history, and B, has it happened in Canucks history? I feel like the only time you'd be able to go back and find that kind of stat is, like, you go look at I would start at the Bruce Boudreau era. I think that's where I would start looking. Do you agree?
I'm sure it's happened before many times because the reason their shooting percentage was so high is because they didn't generate many shots. I'm sure you've had games where, I don't know, a team generates 12 or 13 shots, scores a few goals, still loses a game. I imagine it's probably more common than you think. Not that it happens frequently.
5 goals?
Well, if you're setting the barrier at minimum 5 goals, sure. But I'm sure that there have also been games where, let's say, the losing team scores 2 or 3 goals, their shooting percentage is high, and they still lose the game just because they were outplayed and didn't really create a whole lot.
Someone go find that stat. Someone go find those stats. Okay, we got a super chat here right off the bat from Pat Silly, who just wanted to let everybody know that he was first, and it's a super chat as well, so we're going to read it first for Pat Silly. Thanks for joining the show today. Thank you for the donation of $2.79 to the BC Mental Health Foundation. If you want to make sure your question or comment gets in the show, hit us with a super chat. Proceeds from our super chat go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by spreading breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Yes. So where do we start? Jacob,
hold on.
I
think I have your answer. I'm looking at highest shooting percentage in an NHL game by team. I'm on Stat News, which I think is usually pretty accurate with this kind of stuff. So the highest ever, Tampa Bay shot 57% a couple of years ago in 2023 when they beat Carolina 8-2. I'm looking here, though, at the results, and the highest one I can find in a loss was in 1982 when the Colorado Rockies lost 8-7 to the Quebec Nordiques, shooting 43.8%. So
that's insane.
I feel like 33 in a loss is not very common.
No, and then I'm scrolling back down again. All I see is win, and that's it. Like, I can't. It only goes down to 40% because it's just got the top 25 here, and the only loss was that Rockies versus Nordiques game. Also, funny enough, the Canucks do appear on this list quite a lot in wins, I must say. In 1971, they shot 43% in a game. In 84, they shot 41.2%. In earlier this year, they shot earlier, not this season, but this calendar year, last season, they shot 40% in the 6-2 win against Chicago. So Canucks have appeared on this list a few times, and unfortunately, they just did it again in a loss.
8-5, 7 goals beat Yuri Patera. He's going to be a topic of today's show. I don't know. I didn't think Patera was that bad, but he also wasn't very good. He made some nice saves, but he, I don't know. You needed more from your goaltender, I think.
My biggest takeaway from that game is just how deeply troubled I am by how disastrous their defensive structure has been, not just last night, but this season as a whole. Now, I should preface this by saying as well, I don't think this is a work ethic issue, right? Sometimes teams are defensive tire fires, and it's the New York Rangers last season under Peter Laviolette where they just look disinterested defensively. The work ethic isn't there. Guys aren't back checking. They aren't playing as a team. This year's Canucks roster is legitimately trying, which I think points to just how bad the structural problems are. I think at the quarter mark of the season, there's an argument to be made that they're the worst defensive team in the NHL this season. You look at their 5-on-5 defensive ranks, shots against their 32nd, expected goals against their 32nd, high danger chances against their 32nd, and they've got the worst penalty kill in the NHL. Now, I also don't think that these defensive woes are going to simply be fixed by getting healthier, by getting Teddy Bluger back, by getting Der Forbort back, Hoglander, whoever you want to point to. And I think good teams are able to still defend well without some key drivers. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes, for example. Hurricanes have only had 2 games played this entire season from Jacob Slavin, who is the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL. And it's not just Slavin on that back end. Keandre Miller's missed time. Jalen Chatfield has missed games. Shane Gostisbehere has missed games. I mentioned they've had to play guys like Yoel Nystrom. Nikishin stepped into a much bigger role than expected. Dominic Fensore had to play in a game. Like, that blue line has been just shattered by injuries. And yet the Carolina Hurricanes have a 13-5-1 record. And when you watch them play, they're still controlling action. And sure, there have been a couple of games where they're a little bit more permissive defensively than they would be when some of their stoppers like Slavin are in the lineup. But the point is, it's not as if the bottom completely falls out, which it feels like it has been for the Canucks lately from a play controlling perspective. They've been out attempted by over 100 in non-Quinn Hughes minutes at 5-on-5 in the last 6 games. And the disturbing part too is you were going up against a Florida Panthers team that before last night's game, there were 27th in the NHL in goals scored per game. Because they've been missing Barkov, Tkachuk, some other bodies, they haven't had a lot of offensive firepower this year. They've maintained their elite defensive play for the most part this season, but on a night-to-night basis, I've watched the Panthers and they've been relying way too heavily on Marchand to carry the mail. So it's not as if you ran into one of the best offensive teams in the NHL and they put up 8 on you. You ran into a Florida Panthers team that's been battered and bruised, defends well, but was one of the lower scoring teams in the NHL prior to last night's game, and they were dunking on you offensively.
So let's talk about it then. And we got Jeff waiting in the wings. We'll bring him in as well in a second here. But what's going on? Because for me, and there's people in the chat with their theories as well, there's a lot of chasing going on. There's a lot of just, I don't know where I'm supposed to be right now. And I know high scoring game and they lose. Everyone's going to say, oh, it felt like the Bruce Boudreau era. But really, like, the defensive structure did feel a little bit like the Bruce Boudreau era. Like, again, when you're chasing around the defensive zone, good offenses and even mid offenses like Florida's last night, like you were just saying, they'll pick you apart at this level. They will, and they know you're going to chase, so they do it. And what's really interesting for me is, like, when we talk about defensive zone breakdowns, right? Usually it's one guy is caught out of position, then another guy tries to adapt because of that and tries to cover for him. And then now that's 2 players out of position, and then the first guy doesn't know where to go. And breakdowns in the defensive end basically start with one guy making a mistake and then everybody just making subsequent mistakes because they're trying to cover for the first guy. That doesn't happen very often when everybody knows where they're supposed to be, which is what we saw during the Rick Tocchet era. And yeah, we all complained about, the trap style hockey. I'm just wondering, like, can they not find a nice medium where they create offense off the rush and they're able to defend in their own zone? Like, I feel like we've been watching hockey for a long time. We've been talking about hockey for a long time. You read about defensive systems and you understand defensive systems and all that. Like, it doesn't or shouldn't have to be so far one way or so far the other way. Like, can't we just find a happy medium here?
I don't think they're a good enough team for that.
That's fair.
And a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, but I think Rick Tocchet's departure is a massive reason why this team looks so lost defensively. Now, of course, Adam Foote hasn't had his full complement of players to work with. That's important context. And I'm not trying to say he's done a poor job necessarily, but I think this is part of the reason why we weren't as harsh on Tocchet last year when they were struggling to manufacture so much offense, is because we made the point, if they try and play a different style besides this painfully boring low event hockey, their defensive game is going to likely crater. And that's really the biggest, like, one of the biggest differences, because you notice it not just in one area, right? It's not just the backdoor tap-ins. It's also the net front coverage. It's the doubling up on puck carriers. The number of times there are 2 Canucks players drifting over to one guy, which then leaves other passing lanes open last night against the Panthers, I thought it was interesting how many times they seem to create confusion for the Canucks when there'd be a forward down low, and instead of making a low to high pass, the forward with his back towards the net would kind of skate the puck up high. And it's in that confusing spot where sometimes teams will have like a little handoff play where the forward skating up will leave it for the defenseman rushing down the wall. And it's an interesting spot to try and catch teams, because from a defensive standpoint, it can cause confusion for the winger of how do I handle this exchange for the defenseman who's tracking the forward coming high. It's how high do I keep chasing before handing off that responsibility to the winger. And it's in a lot of those sequences where the Canucks seemed a little bit hesitant and unsure. And I think on one of Florida's first goals, the forward was able to, it was against Quinn Hughes actually, cut into the slot, generate the initial high danger chance. And that was emblematic of like that type of sequence they kept doing over and over again. And it's especially concerning for me because you know that the players would have been aware that, hey, we've got Jiri Patera in net. He's making his first NHL start in a really long time. We want to defend well in front of him. You know that the game plan is to be a little bit more conservative and protect and insulate your goaltender. And I understand it's a second leg of a back-to-back, so you don't have your legs as well as you normally would. But still, to be that permissive when you've got an AHL goaltender back there too, it's deeply troubling for me.
Let's bring in Jeff Patterson, see if he's as deeply troubled as we are. Jeff Patterson is brought to you by our friends at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip line and not have to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off select food items, $3.33 on select drinks, and more. The arcade, the bar, the street food menu, it all makes Greta a great spot to watch the next game. Make it your spot to watch the big game. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. All right. Jeff, there's so much going on in our chat right now that I'm sure you saw it all in the rink-wide chat as well last night, but your thoughts on last night's game?
I think Harm laid it out pretty nicely there. I am deeply troubled by what I'm seeing, and not just because they hit the quarter mark of the season, but it's not getting better. And in fact, the 41 shots that they gave up last night, that was a season high, 8 goals, obviously. But in Carolina the other night, that was the third highest shot total that they have permitted. So 2 of their 3 highest shot totals permitted came on this road trip. That's not trending in the right direction. And yeah, like everything gets couched with injuries. I get that. But, you know, even last year's team, like Demko wasn't around till Christmas time. Dakota Joshua didn't start the season. JT took his 10-game absence. Brock Besser was gone for 7. Pia Suter missed the opening. Like injuries happen. It's a contact sport. And so, yes, I get that they haven't had the full lineup, but I think it's a bit of a fool's game to think that you just keep waiting until they have everybody at their disposal. The guys that they've got, for the most part, like the core group is here and playing. And I mean, look, it's fun on one level to see teams trade chances and score that many goals. I guess I'd take that over the 2-1 game that they played in Nashville earlier this season. But if you're in the bottom third of the league in goals against, like that's troubling. When you are dead last, that's crisis time. And I don't get this sense, like they keep passing it off about the good things that they're doing. And maybe it's just the psyche of athletes and Adam Foote as well. But I hope behind closed doors that there are some sobering discussions going on around this hockey club and the way things are going and the way things seem to be trending here. Because quite frankly, I mean, the road trip, 1-1-1, sure, take it. And yet there were so many long stretches there where like that is just not sustainable. It barely bordered on like true professionalism. I think of all the periods, the first period in Tampa, they were the rested team. The Canucks were. Tampa had come off a game against Florida the day before. I thought that first period in Tampa may be the worst period of the road trip, and somehow the Canucks got out of it just down 1-0 there. but they need the puck. It sounds like a simple fundamental of hockey, but they need the puck because when they've had it, you've seen they're able to do some decent things offensively. But, and again, Harm pointed out, like, you can look at all the goals they've given up, dead last in the NHL in goals against, and you say, yeah, but so much of the damage on the power play, the other team's power play. Okay, take those goals out. At 5-on-5, all of those sort of key metrics, they are 30th, 31st, or 32nd. So they're giving up way too much on the power play, but that's just kind of masking their 5-on-5 play is as bad as well. One of the craziest stats that I could find was that they've been outshot by more than 100 at 5-on-5, and yet they've been outscored by just 3, which speaks to the way pucks are going in for them offensively, some of the saves that they got a little bit earlier in the season. But through it all, guys, that was their 10th regulation loss of the season last night. Only Calgary has more regulation losses in the National Hockey League. And you don't want to be in the company of the Calgary Flames these days. It's just, again, you can say, hey, they're clawing and scratching and they're plucky and all that kind of stuff. But that's 21 games burned off now. They're below NHL 500. And I was just looking at it this morning. They would have to play at a 101-point pace the rest of the way just to get to 95 points this season. And they haven't won back-to-back games in a month now. So this idea that they're going to play at a 101-point pace the rest of the way, I think by the 2021 game mark, you get a pretty good indication of what you've got, and what they've got is all kinds of problems in their own zone.
J-Pat, one of the major themes that we've talked about recently is how badly the Canucks have recently been dominated in non-Quinn Hughes minutes. Specifically, we've seen that the Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers pairing has been caved in a lot, surrendered a lot defensively. Do you think it's time to reconfigure the bottom 4? Or I shouldn't even say bottom 4, because maybe part of the solution you want to see is splitting Hughes and Hronek, but do you think it's time to reconfigure the defense pairs? And is there a combination that you'd like to see them experiment with?
I think I've said this before, and I think you guys share some of the sentiment that, like, Tyler Myers is a true pro through and through. You respect the leadership, quality guy to deal with on a regular basis. He's going to be 36 here in February, and I am really starting to worry a little bit about, is it his age? Is it the compressed schedule? Is it the system? Is the game passing him by? Nobody in the National Hockey League, I repeat, nobody in the National Hockey League has been on the ice for more goals against this season, anywhere, any team, than Tyler Myers. You don't want to be that guy. And yet that's where he finds himself right now. His metrics across the board are just, they're troubling is what they are. And so I don't know where it goes from here. He's not getting younger. The game's not getting any slower. And is it just poor reactions and poor reads and decisions on his part? That's kind of been in his game throughout, but whatever. Like, there was the uptick there when Adam Foote was the assistant coach and hands-on, but something's gone sideways here for Tyler Myers. And I'm not dumping it all on him, but when you're in that position of being the guy that's been scored on more than anybody else in the NHL, that's a massive red flag. Now, Marcus Pettersson's been on the ice for more power play goals against, so he's been part of the penalty killing issue, but it is a team game, and so it's kind of foolish just to say, hey, one guy is at the root cause of all this. But to your question, Harm, sure, what they're doing isn't working, so it would be foolish to stick with it, but what are the options ultimately in terms of trying to find a better solution, to find things that are going to work for the Vancouver Canucks? You could split up Pettersson and Myers, but then you're asking either DPD or Tom Willander to shoulder more minutes. I don't think it's been a great start to the season for DPD. And as much as I think we've liked the strides that Willander's made, he had a tough night last night. Most guys did. When you're giving up 8, it's hard to look and think, hey, it was a really good night defensively for anybody, but there are still nights, is my point. And again, that's the Panthers without Barkov, without Tkachuk, without Luosterainen. Samoskevich left the game for a while there. This wasn't the Colorado Avalanche right now. This is a Florida team that scored once against Tampa in its previous game and then explodes for 8 against the Vancouver Canucks. And yeah, it's just hard to get over some of the defensive miscues by this team. I think of was it the Luke Kunin goal where Noah Gregor is just allowed to roam freely all over the zone and cut to the net, and Evander Kane waves at him, and DPD's doing some, or rather Elias Pettersson's doing something. Quinn's in the corner, for crying out loud. Like, there were too many goals that looked way too easy, and that's sort of been the name of the game here for too long against this Canucks hockey club. So I would say, yeah, they got to look long and hard at shaking something up, but I'm not sure that I like what's behind door number 2 any more than I like what I'm seeing from this group on a nightly basis right now.
Jeff, you wrote it today over at CanucksArmy.com. 21 stats that tell the story of the Canucks' first 21 games. Wow, quarter of the season already done. 21 stats that tell the story of the Canucks' first 21 games. What stood out for you when writing that piece? What's one you want to highlight?
There's a few because, as I said, like, they've been fun, right? Like, the fact that they're tied for 4th in the NHL in raw power play goals scored. I don't know that I thought that would be the case, and obviously Jake DeBrusk has been a huge part of it, but they're tied for 4th in raw power play goals scored and have one each from Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Brock Besser. Like, the math doesn't seem to add up, but it does, and they've scored 16 power play goals, and that's been part of this thing of keeping them in games and helping them win some hockey games. So, that was a number that jumped out at me. The whole thing about Evander Kane and his ice time, he's back up to 3rd among all forwards in 5-on-5 ice time, and he doesn't have a 5-on-5 goal, which is just wild. But he does have a pair of 6-on-5 goals. The one that I've been tracking, and like, I don't want to come across as like, I've got this guy in my sights and I'm not letting go. Again, I'm praising Jake DeBrusk. He's finding pucks in blue paint. He's got the knack. The power play goals are up. Just the 1 5-on-5 goal. But I just find this baffling, and there's no way to explain it. He's got 19 games without an assist, playing top 6 minutes, and on the first unit power play, he had an assist in each of the first 2 games of the season and hasn't set up a goal in 19 straight. Like, that's just wild. It's mind-blowing to me that a guy can be on the ice, goals are going in all over the place. Like, how does he not get a second assist somewhere? And yet that's where we are. So, I threw out the fact that, again, they have to play at 101-point pace. That was part of this thing. And, hey, miracles happen, but it kind of feels like it would take a miracle for this team to get anywhere close to that kind of pace. So there's a bunch of quirky things in there. I just had some fun spinning some numbers. Some of them are serious. Some of them are a little bit frivolous, whatever the case. 21 games. We thought, why not? Let's come up with 21 statistics from this season. And I guess, to answer your question, Dave, I just like the fact that right now in the month of November, they have scored more goals than any team in the NHL, and they've allowed more goals than any team in the NHL, which makes them entertaining, but it's not any way to truly have success. That even when you're on this incredible heater with a shooting percentage, you still can't outscore all of your defensive woes is basically what it boils down to.
To shift to one of the silver linings from not just last night, but the weekend and really this whole month of November, Elias Pettersson with another promising offensive showing. How encouraged are you by his recent level of play offensively and really racking up the points and almost point per game production now?
Yeah, certainly a step in the right direction. It's hard to argue with 4 straight multi-point games. Loved the backhand last night. Like, that looked a little bit like vintage PD. I like the play in Tampa at the move that he made on Yanni Gourde to free himself up to get the shot away that DeBrusk deposited for the rebound there. And actually, his other goal last night was nice off the roll. Again, they're doing decent things when they've got the puck. They just don't have the puck enough. But chipping away. And yeah, all of a sudden, the numbers start to look pretty reasonable for Elias Pettersson. So, we're still in this mode, and we do it on Rink-Wide too, where it feels like we devote a segment to, all right, what did we think about his game tonight? I'd like to get past that where, you just want to believe that he's going to be able to make some sort of impact. But it is weird that last night, 21 games of the season, and they haven't played together every single game, but that was the first time that Evander Kane and Elias Pettersson have combined on a goal all season. And yet Kane's been stapled to his wing and has basically been his primary left winger. And it's taken 21 games for them to combine on a single goal. That's a little hard to process as well. And I do think that not so much the last couple of games, but for much of this month, Kane's been shooting too much, quite frankly, for a guy that has 3 goals. And when you see Elias Pettersson starting to feel it a little bit more, like I want him to be the guy on that line that's launching pucks and be put in positions to shoot the puck, because Kane will shoot from anywhere. And you can look at his shooting percentage and think, oh, well, he's due for a bounce here. Is he, when he's just firing pucks randomly from the left wing boards at a really rapid rate? So Evander Kane, a couple of nice assists, and there's been some playmaking there, but he's got 3 goals through 21 games. And I think most people, and him included, had him pegged for a few more than that at this stage of the proceedings. So, Petey's doing some good things, but I'd like to see the puck on his stick a little bit more, and through it all, would like to see him continue to get those shot totals up higher than they have been.
Last one for me, Jeff. It's our first chance to talk to you since David Kampf was signed. Not the best debut. He got thrown to the wolves. Like, it's like Patera. We're not going to sit here and analyze your Patera. We're not going to sit here and analyze David Kampf. But what are you hoping he can bring to this team? And with that, what did you see last night? We have to at least talk about it.
Yeah, let's start with the positives. That he won 11 of 15 faceoffs. So he's supposed to do that, and so that part is good. And I'm with you. I'm not going to sit here with knives out and carve the guy. Didn't get a practice in, trying to figure out who his teammates are. That said, there were some sketchy reads on his part, and maybe give him a pass as he's trying to figure out, is it his job? Is it somebody else's? Chasing on one of the goals, and then on the second Seth Jones power play goal, like he got spun around into the dirt essentially and had no idea where he was supposed to be in coverage. And so you want to believe that he can shake a little bit of rust off. Hadn't played in a while, played the 4 American Hockey League games, but hadn't played in the National Hockey League. So I still want to see deployment. Didn't love the idea that Jake DeBrusk was on his wing. And I hope that doesn't last. Like, this is not a play driver. This is not an offensively gifted center. And here you've got DeBrusk, who is one of your top goal scorers. And that just doesn't feel like a combo that's going to work for me. So we'll see what happens. So hopefully Connor Garland's available to them on Thursday against Dallas, and we can start to see a little bit different. But just, I want to see him take on more defensive faceoffs. I do want to see him a little stiffer down the middle, just defensively. But hey, we'll give them the benefit of at least one practice here, and they should practice on Wednesday before they take on the red-hot Dallas Stars. So that's going to be a handful for them. And just quickly, Dave, before I finish up here, I think like the Dallas game is going to be a challenge. They've already beaten the Stars once this year. It's the end of the 6-game gauntlet. The game for me this week, though, that's fascinating is Calgary on Sunday, right? Like, remember the reaction of this market when Chicago came in and ran their show? Like, what happens if the Calgary Flames walk into Rogers Arena on Sunday night? The Flames play at home against Dallas the night before. So for the second time this season, the Canucks are getting Calgary on the back half of back-to-backs with travel. And knowing this fan base and just the way things have gone here for the last little while, if it doesn't go well, you got Friday, you got the Golden Eyes making their PWHL debut. Saturday, you got 50,000 showing up to the Whitecaps game. And if they win, they'll be the talk of the town. And then Sunday, you got the Canucks and the Flames. And I just hope that it doesn't go sideways for the Canucks, because I can feel the reaction of this fan base already if they can't scrape a win together against the Calgary Flames.
Let's hope we don't have to get there. But hey, we might.
Monday show! Yay!
Jeff, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
How come my hood doesn't sit down nicely the way yours does?
Well, this isn't this. I'm my like chair is higher, but if I was lower, anyway.
I feel like I'm wearing one of those like surgical collar sort of things. Anyways, that's for another day. 3 guys in hoodies here on Convo today.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
There he is, Jeff Patterson. Check him out on Rinkwide Vancouver. What a dark thought Jeff just left us with, hey? What happens if the Canucks lose to the Calgary Flames on Sunday and they're starting, what's that guy's name? What's their backup name?
Devin Cooley?
No, isn't it the Russian guy?
No. Devin Cooley's been playing.
Kozhatov,
I think, got waived and sent to
Was the last time he played in a Flames jersey the preseason game against the Canucks?
I think so, yeah.
He got waived the next day.
And Devin Cooley, if my memory serves me, is actually off to a decent start.
935 save percentage.
935 save percentage.
He has better numbers than Wolf this year. Pretty considerably better.
Very tiny sample size, obviously.
Well, then they get a pass. If they lose on Sunday, they get a pass. Ran into a hot goaltender. All right.
Let's transition
to
the stat of the day. which is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. I wanted to talk about this Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers pairing a little bit more.
Okay.
Because
also, it's not a good stat.
It's not a good stat, but I want to transition it to a broader conversation about the team. So far this season, in the 5-on-5 minutes that Marcus Pettersson and Tyler Myers have played together, the high danger chances are 44 for the opposition and 19 for the Canucks, a 30% share. Now, I understand the environment and infrastructure around them hasn't been very good, and I've made the point before that it's very tough unless you're a Quinn Hughes type defenseman, a top, even let's say, I only think there are 20-ish defensemen, maybe 30 in the league that can single-handedly dictate an environment and change it all by themselves. So when you're expected to be, let's say, second pair defenseman and there are fires around you, lots of injuries, not a lot of talent to give you insulation, it's tough to single-handedly flip that. But for them to currently have some of the worst underlying numbers of any defense pair in the NHL is alarming. I wouldn't expect, given the quality of the team around them, for them to be, let's say, 50% or higher in terms of some of these underlying numbers. But if they were, let's say, controlling 45% of shots, 45% of scoring chances in those minutes, it would be, all right, they're giving up more than they're creating, but they're at least holding their own. Right now, this Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers pair at 5-on-5, they aren't even holding their own. And if anything, they've been propped up a little bit by their on-ice save percentage, which on the scoreboard and in terms of their goal differential as a pair has made things not seem as bad as the shot counter and the scoring chance battle would leave you to believe.
A lot of people are trying to figure this out of what's gone wrong for this pair. You mentioned some things about, when the environment around you isn't great. Obviously, they're not getting much help. There's not a lot of time being spent in the opposition's end because of the forward group. We understand that, but it's got to be more than that, right? Like Jeff threw out age for Myers, but like Marcus Pettersson, just focusing on him for a second, again, takes a bad penalty again last night. He has not come as advertised after being pretty damn good down the stretch of the season when he was acquired last year.
Yeah, I think he hasn't been taking away as many lanes as you would expect. I also think Marcus Pettersson has never been an above average puck mover. He's had a decent first pass, but he's not somebody that when the dump is pucked in, you're going to expect him to wheel it out of the defensive zone and lead breakouts all by himself. And that's part of the issue for this pair is they're just hemmed in their own end. They're stuck defending all the time. They're never able to consistently transport pucks up the ice, spend time in the attacking end. It's a little bit similar to when Soucy and Myers were a pair together, where when you're forced to defend and you have that little puck possession, sometimes it's only a matter of time before the opposition wears you down and is able to find the seams, the backdoor passes, just because you never have control of the puck. A lot of times the best way to limit the defensive damage against you is to be a team that is attacking and you're just controlling in the offensive zone. This deep pair it feels like every time I watch them, they're just in their own end.
Chat's pointing it out. I wasn't going to point it out, but they did. You said the dump is pucked in.
Oh, whoops.
Instead of the
puck is dumped in.
Yes. But it's a good point. And speaking of the puck being dumped in and the defensive system, because there's questions galore for anyone else about what is the Canucks system. I want to dive into that a bit. Yes, you did hear that right, folks. People in the chat are telling Jacob to clip it. We'll have that. We'll have that for ourselves. And Bintang Warrior in the chat said most depressing podcast ever. Hey, we have fun here. We're gonna have some fun. Let's get to anyone else, which is a presentation of Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive 72 kilometers in the battery alone, then seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down. And it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Okay, so people were asking, like, and I gotta try and find the title of the book I read. I once bought this book, just all about hockey systems and just like understanding hockey systems. And I think anybody who like wants to comment on systems, I think you should read the book. Or if you played at a high level, I never played hockey at a high level. I'm not sitting here pretending like I did. If you played at a high enough level, and no, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about like your bantam, your bantam double A team. If you played at a high enough level, you'll probably understand what we're talking about. Junior A or higher is what Jacob set the bar at. Jacob played pretty high level, and even he's saying
not that high,
A.
not even close to that high. But
well, no, I know you didn't play junior A, but
Yeah.
anyways, what I'm saying. Yeah. What you're saying is, junior A or higher, you really start to have an understanding of this. Jacob Fraser, on the other hand, another guy, our fill-in producer last week, Jacob did play junior hockey, and he really understands systems. Like, he's a guy we can lean on. But anyways, what I'm getting at is people are wondering, like, oh, is it man-on-man? Is it zone? It's like a modified system where if the puck's up high, they play one way, and if the puck's down low, they play another way. And we noted this in training camp, Harm, and it's kind of continued that it's not a man-on-man because when the puck's in the corner or when the puck's down low, there's two players pressuring the puck carrier. That's not man-on-man. So what that's resulting in is sometimes when that forward, who sometimes is Evander Kane, doesn't actually pressure the puck carrier, someone else does it, and then all of a sudden you have a defensive breakdown. And we've seen it a few times because, and this is the thing, it's not just the center that needs to pressure the puck carrier because things happen, and it's not always the center that needs to pressure that puck carrier. We've been seeing it all season, all through training camp, and I think last night was a good example. I gotta find the actual goal. I want to go back and make sure I watch it properly. But there was a couple examples last night where that puck carrier is in the corner, the defenseman is in the corner with him because they're both pressuring, and then it gets by them, and all of a sudden there's one guy at the front of the net, and nobody's covering the back door. It was a serious problem last night. I gotta find it. I gotta find the actual goal I'm talking about. But you agree with me here? Like, I'm bang on about what the system is, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm struggling a little bit to fully figure out, well, how much of it is the system versus how much of it is the personnel they have. It just overall a lack of two-way forwards that can kill plays really quickly, and also just having your second pair and Marcus Patterson and Tyler Myers underperforming. When you're trying to apply pressure and you're sometimes doubling up on the puck carrier and you're unable to kill the play immediately, you're inevitably going to have issues in other parts of the ice. And I remember we had this conversation in training camp about, okay, they look to want to apply more pressure than in the D zone than they did under Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
That's, in theory, that's great because if you kill cycles early, you spend less time defending and you're able to counter and play a quicker up-tempo style. But if you don't kill the play early, you're going to have some pretty significant coverage issues elsewhere. And it feels like that's been an issue for the Canucks recently. Is a lot of times puck is behind the net. They're closing on the man, but they're not able to kill the play, and that leaves right in front of the blue paint uncontested players that have all sorts of time and space to have chances right on the doorstep.
The easiest way to put it when we're talking systems is that the Canucks pressure the puck carrier too much for the personnel they have. Is that fair?
One of them. I'd want to do deep dive and really like watch a ton of tape back before I draw any hard conclusions, but that does stand out to me as one of the issues.
S. Little Boston said they don't know who they should cover. Mike in the Valley said 100% quads. They're overcommitting on the puck. Karn, whatever the system is, Marcus Pettersson doesn't get it. That made me laugh. Yeah. Mike in the Valley says the goal where the puck carrier goes behind the net, Kampf collapses to pressure the puck, which leaves the man in the low slot wide open. Jacob, just
Prime example.
fire up all these goals as they come, just as we're talking about them. Rajcraft with a good point. This is a good point. He said, as bad as they are, it feels like they're playing better than what they are. I don't know if that makes sense. This is the thing I keep pointing out and I keep making a note of is, and I know it's a moral victory. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, you can't be upset about this team because, but I am just saying that, like, it's pretty nice not having to question the players give a bleep meter. Like, we've seen a lot of low effort losses. That's when jerseys go on the ice. That's when you get booed off the ice, when it's just like you show up. Remember that game? Who did they play? It was like 6-0. Jersey came on the ice. It was the Devils. It was the Devils.
Halloween last year.
It was the Devils.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And that was one of my takeaways coming out of even the weekend where they picked up 3 or 4 points, and just overall was, say what you want about the process not looking pretty and often being concerning, but I can't fault the players' work ethic here. And that was last year's team was frustrating because I felt like they actually had more talent and had more to give, and yet for whatever reason you had so many stinkers. It wasn't just that 6-0 blowout loss. It was in early November, Hockey Night in Canada. I believe that was the first time they were playing the Oilers after that second round series loss. And I remember ticket prices were through the roof, highly anticipated game, and they got blown out 7-3. About a week and a half later, Bo Horvat and the Islanders come into town. They lose 5-2 on home ice, and that scoreline was flattering to them. It underestimated just how badly they had performed. In early December, the Bruins were in town. Again, Hockey Night in Canada game, home ice. They got absolutely blown out, completely lifeless performance. So that is one, at least, area that with this Canucks team, I can't look at them and say, well, they've given up, or they or they don't care. They do care. I see the work ethic. It's just that they aren't a very good team, and they seem, environment and structure wise, very disorganized right now.
Trouble on Demand in the chat said a lack of practices when switching to a new system is not a great recipe. Yeah, no argument there. The condensed schedule is making it very, very difficult. Canucks practice tomorrow, by the way. They're going to get a chance to practice tomorrow, it would look like. So that's good news for them. That's good news for us. We're going to get to go to practice tomorrow, and we'll have a show after practice as well, of course. T Rogers 46 in the chat said this show isn't long enough for Jacob to pull up the Canucks defensive breakdowns from last night. And Jacob said, I'm not even going to try. Feel free to throw your Canucks Convo merch in the chat. All right, well done. Yeah, Mike in the Valley with another one. He said, it's a combo of poor systems and not enough players that can play that way. It's kind of what you said about, like, it's not just the system. It's that when we talk about, can there be an in-between of, okay, we're going to play really good defensive structure, but we're also going to create offense. Can there be an in-between? It's not as simple as, oh, you got to find a better system. It's just that you don't have the skill. And I think ultimately when we talk about the work ethic, it naturally goes into another conversation about, like, even though they're like the hardest working team most nights, they're still usually getting outchanced. They're still usually getting outscored, as we're seeing. And that's not great.
Yeah, and I remember one of the positive storylines that I was going to keep an eye on over this road trip was going to be the number of just offensive chances they were starting to create. At 5-on-5, I referenced how there was a 2-week stretch from the start of November to about the midway point, first 11, 12 days or so, where they were actually around top 5 in the league, shots generated offensively. Now, they were still giving up a lot of shots too, but it was okay. If you can find a baseline level of competence defensively and you pair that with, all right, you're creating a lot more chances offensively, that in theory is what Adam Foote would want from this team. And this is where, despite them scoring 5 goals last night, I am concerned about the lack of 5-on-5 shots. You look at these last 3 games, the number of 5-on-5 shots they've had: 12, 13, and 9. That's just, it's not good enough. And I worry about, sure, the goals are coming now, but a lot of that is driven by a red hot shooting percentage. And when that cools off, I mean, you touched on it at the start of the show, they shot 33% in that game. When that cools off, I don't know that they're going to look as entertaining offensively as they have at points either.
This was a sad podcast. Any positives you want to bring up? Anything fun that you want to say?
Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll do a full deep dive on Patterson tomorrow. I wanted to save that conversation for a non-game day, but 4 straight multi-point games for him. You're starting to see the confidence return to his game, the assertiveness, him making more plays, trusting his shot a little bit more. That's obviously, I think, a massive silver lining. And then Quinn Hughes, I mean, he had at the midway point of that Panthers game, he had 10 points in his last 2.5 games at that juncture. J-Pat had the stat about how he climbed from 18th in defenseman scoring to 2nd after that game. So it's still fun to see those guys cooking offensively. And I think once Garland comes back, I'd like to see this team maximize the number of minutes that Paterson and Hughes are playing together. Because I think we've seen when they're out there as a 5-man unit, the Patterson line and the Hughes pair, they are creating a lot offensively. I think that's the Canucks' best chance of controlling play. And yeah, does that leave you exposed further down the lineup in terms of you don't have as many drivers? Sure. But I think once Connor Garland comes back, you can maybe lean on him to drive his own line. Which I wouldn't mind seeing, even though Garland and Patterson have shown chemistry. If you go in with this idea that, like the Oilers, we're going to have the Oilers, it feels like 60% of shifts have McDavid on the ice at the same time as the Evan Bouchard pair. I want to see something similar to that with Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. And yeah, that leaves you exposed further down the lineup, but Patterson's results away from Hughes haven't been the best at 5-on-5 anyway. So I'd rather just see what you can get if you supercharge the top of your lineup. And then once Garland is back, have him try and stem the bleeding, leading a second line. And it's still not perfect. It's still kind of tricky. And maybe you compensate by then also asking, in an effort to spread the wealth throughout the lineup, maybe you ask Hronek to drive his own pair on the second pair. But I do think that moving forward, finding a way to squeeze out even more shifts of those guys together is huge, because look at the Pettersson rush goal, where it started with Quinn Hughes racing up the ice to turn the change of possession into an odd man rush. It's his speed through the neutral zone that created the clear cut odd man rush. And then it's Kane making the nice pass across to Patterson to convert it. That's the kind of stuff that I think Quinn Hughes can help the Patterson line with.
Love it, dude. Love it. We've got some good stuff going on Canucks Army this afternoon. Tyson Cole is writing something based on your stat that we talked about yesterday about how much better the Canucks are with Quinn Hughes. Just looking at the impact that other top defensemen have on their teams. Canucks fans will like that one. That's another positive. It's going to be up soon. CanucksArmy.com. Wanted to get this in as well. The broadcast schedule for the PWHL came out, and they're Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. They're all on TSN or Sportsnet, right? Like one or the other.
Some prime games, just like with the NHL. But between TSN, Sportsnet, and Amazon Prime, every game is on one of those three. And I think there's a couple that are CBC as well. But I mean, if you have Sportsnet or TSN, you can obviously get CBC. So
Yeah. So that just brings me back to our conversation with Sarah Nurse last month, when she was just like, I think this is going to be a different kind of thing for the league, because you don't have to go searching, you don't have to go seeking out the games. You can just turn on what you're already watching Canucks games on, or what you're already watching your football on, or whatever, and the PWHL is going to be there. Which brings me to the MLS. I'm so mad about the MLS. I want to watch the Whitecaps. I want to support the Vancouver Whitecaps, and I can't because I'm not paying for that stupid season pass thing. I'm not doing that. It's crazy.
Jacob, you'll probably know this better than me, but aren't they going away from that after?
Yes, they are.
So what? Do I
Is that
still need
as soon
Apple
as next
TV?
season?
I don't have that either. I don't want Apple TV.
Well, okay, so it won't help you out this weekend, Quads, but for next weekend, they are changing how they're doing it. I don't actually know what they're changing it to. I remember like 7-8 years ago, MLS used to be on Sportsnet. I think it was on Sportsnet first, and then went to TSN. You could watch like basically every Whitecaps game on TSN, and now it's impossible to find.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
I want to watch the game. Like,
yeah.
Here's the other thing. MLS season pass, which is going away next year. People in the chat are saying as well, and we pointed that out. I went to go look. I have to pay the full price for it. There's no like, there's only one game left in the season. It's this much. This is how much it costs for the year. $99. What are you talking about? You're gonna make me pay $99 for something that I'm gonna watch one game of. I can watch a UFC pay-per-view for cheaper than that, and then it's gone next year. What a joke! Like, what a joke! And like, you're not gonna get casual fans like me. I'm a casual soccer fan. I want to support the local team. You're not gonna get our support if you don't, and that's what you really need. That's what you really need is you need those fans. You need to create fans. You're not creating any fans with this crap. And I'm talking about the MLS, not the Whitecaps specifically. The Whitecaps are doing an excellent job. Thomas Miller is the greatest free agent signing in the history of Vancouver sports. Love how much he's embraced the city. I'm going to stop talking right now because I'm going to turn this back into a Canucks thing and no one wants to hear that. So I'm really happy with Thomas Miller. I think he's a really, really good ambassador for the city.
Well, and just to the point, that game on Saturday, like, first off, it sold out. And anytime BC Place is sold out for anything, like, that's a big deal. But like, you've got Thomas Muller and then Son playing for LAFC. Like, those are two of, like, through the 2010s and into the early 2020s, those are two of like the top 20 players in the world, I think, without much argument. And they're playing against each other in a playoff game in Vancouver. And Quads, to your point, unless you have MLS season pass, you can't watch it.
How much are tickets? I'm going to buy tickets.
The game's sold out. So you're buying resale. Yeah.
I might do that. I don't need a good seat.
I'll go with you, Quads.
Jay, we can either pay $93 for a ticket or we can pay $90 for MLS season pass.
I'd rather pay $93 for the ticket.
Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. I don't know why I had to get so angry. Really what this started as was I'm excited to be able to actually watch Golden Knights games on TV. And ultimately, I just want to go watch the game at Pacific Coliseum. That is something I'm very, very much so looking forward to. And if you haven't seen a game at the Pacific Coliseum, I'm talking Giants. I've only been to Vancouver Giants games there, obviously. But if you haven't watched a game at the Pacific Coliseum, you need to get there. I can only imagine what it's going to be like with the scoreboard update. I think did I make this joke on the show that I'm 90% sure the scoreboard that they just replaced still had a Team 1040 ad on it? I'm pretty sure that was the case.
I do think you were correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, you got to go check it out. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. I think I nailed it last night. Yeah, I said Buffalo home underdog. They're taking down the Oilers, and they did. That was a funny comment from the Buffalo color commentator that was talking about the Oilers with an empty net. He said, "Oh, they basically played with an empty net all night anyways," which is a really, really funny comment. I like that. All right. Bet365 bet of the day. Oh, okay. Do we think the Leafs figure it out, Harm? Give me your vibes. Come on. I know you don't like to.
For this year, okay. This year,
not the year. They're on a 5-game losing streak. They play the St. Louis Blues tonight.
No, I don't like the vibes in Toronto right now.
All right, well, you're taking the underdog St. Louis Blues then, who come into Toronto, and I like it. I like Harmon's thinking. Craig Berube facing his whole team. Will these Leafs come together? No, they won't. Minus 105, you can get Blues money line. That's what we're taking right now. Leafs are the favorite at home at minus 115, but we're hammering the Blues. Blues money line minus 105. That segment was a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get it on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right, we will wrap it up there. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Woodley. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.